Everything is sad, and I am dead inside.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's not even Happy Wednesday. It's just Wednesday again.
It's Wednesday. My day.
Welcome to Locked On Baylor. Drake Toll alongside Cameron Stewart. Both of us work for Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. Thank you for still making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. I don't know what you're still doing here. I do not. I don't know what I'm still doing here at this point. Oh. Baylor Marquette, final score 96-70. I had a sneaky feeling the Baylor reserves were going to get in the game, that Zach Loveday was going to score, and I didn't know that the Marquette reserves were going to get in the game. I just don't know, man. I don't know. I said on Monday, thank God it's basketball season.
It's been a bad month for this athletic department.
What if I spoke too soon? The women's basketball team's losing. The men's basketball team's losing. The football team lost 3 straight. What do I have to be happy about?
If only you were a Celtics fan.
It's
almost
Cougars.
Christmas, bro.
The China Spring Cougar.
China Spring Cougs, man. That's about it. And I think they would have given Baylor a pretty good game tonight on the basketball court. That was bad, dude. That was really bad. Not like, hey, season's over bad, but kind of like starting to put question marks beside a lot of games bad.
Yeah. You know, I thought it was funny. I was listening to another Baylor podcast actually a couple days ago. This was an old episode. I won't shout them out because it's bad. The podcast's not bad. They just had a bad take because one of the guys goes, "You don't think Baylor goes undefeated in conference play, do you?" The other guy was like, probably not. To which I, the viewer, wanted to jump in and be like, "No matter what, no team would ever go undefeated." They
absolutely do. Oh, my bad.
But the fact that conversation was being had and that Baylor was like that good, that this is the team. And then it wasn't just the turnovers, which were bad. 16 in the first half.
That was a big part of it, but you're right. It wasn't just that.
It was the defense. Defense time.
Is not good, man.
It hasn't been good either. Barstool Sick'em tweeted, This is the worst defense we've seen. No? It's kind of, maybe, but don't know if you've seen some other games.
I thought the UVA game was a little fluky just because of the free throw. They shot 20 more free throws than Baylor and shot 65% from 3. But that said, the defense hasn't looked good all year. That was the only other. Giving up 80 points twice before December. Yes. That never happens under Scott Drew. Marquette called off the dogs, dude. They could have scored 100 last night.
Yes.
100 points in a real basketball game where you had your full arsenal of players. And the 24 points off turnovers in the first half for Marquette was obviously a huge difference in a 26-point lead. But, every time they had the ball, they scored. And I said it at some point in the second half, they were just isolating Baylor's worst defenders, and that was pretty much everybody last night, but mainly Flo Thamba. I was so surprised because I thought in years past he has been such a dogged defender. I've talked all the time about his performance against Timmy in the national championship game. I thought he could have been player of the game. He was that good against him. And, the dude was just – he was just watching tonight. He bought a ticket, got some popcorn, Diet Coke, watching from the stands tonight. Everything in the paint. I think points in the paint – I added in the little halftime stats analysis is all like turnovers, points off turnovers. Oh, yeah, it's also like 30-12 in the paint.
Yeah.
They're just kicking your butt in the paint. And what's been so good about these Baylor defenses the last couple of years, specifically that national championship team, was they were good on the perimeter because they were so good at defending inside. They forced you out to the perimeter. And that was Flo, that was Mark Vital, that was Jeremy Sohan last year as well. And they just don't have that dude right now. In years past, it was Ish Wainwright, Torian Prince even guarding on the inside. They don't have that right now. But like I said, Flo has been that in the past. I don't know if he gets back to that. And maybe it's because you don't have like a real good defensive wing like you've had in the past, but like a Matthew Meyer last year, maybe we're taking that for granted, but you don't have that right now. Jalen Bridges is not that. I thought he could be that. He is not that right now. And so the perimeter defense has suffered. I mean, coming into this game, it sucked. I think they were like, I had it in the stats thread, like 200 something in perimeter defense. Teams were shooting 38% from three against them, which is pretty good. And Scott Drew said last week in the press conference, he said, well, how many of those were just wide open threes? And once we started guarding them, they went down. Well, you didn't guard them tonight.
Yeah.
Those were all open threes. All open threes. I mean, you could count on one hand how many like real good defensive possessions Baylor had where they contested everything. It was not there. It was not there at all tonight.
No. The defense definitely was something that I mean, like, wholly disappointed with. One of my roommates, I was watching with my roommates, which are pretty basketball savvy guys, actually. They like basketball. And one turns and goes, we just don't have Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, Davion Mitchell, Mark Vidal. And
I mean, that's true. By the way, before you keep going, Baylor 297th going into the night in 3-point defense. Go ahead.
Not great.
Don't have those guys.
Just don't have. There's not that guy. He was any given possession defensively in that national championship run. You're like, all right, one of those guys is going to get a steal or a stop. He made the point. It's like even Maceo, who was a pretty unsung hero from that team, that Maceo gets blown by the next possession. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
And I think you saw that in the Final Four, especially that year. That's kind of when the nation saw it. But their recovery time was so good defensively. And so they would push you out to the perimeter and make you throw those longer passes. And they were always in their shirt. And maybe that was part of it, was they were throwing longer passes. But they worked hard to make that the case. I'm getting in the weeds here. But Baylor doesn't have it because the passes are so easy. The looks are so easy, and they went against a good point guard in Kolek last night. But, I mean, they get everything they want. And when you're playing a mid-major team, it's not going to burn you most of the time. But when you play a good team like Virginia or probably not a very good team in Marquette, and there you go. You get burned.
They jumped a lot. It was anytime Marquette, man. Anytime shot fake, there goes the defender out of the screen. Shot fake, out of the screen. Pass, shot fake, out of the screen. Pass, shot fake. Like, there's a point where it looks like there are 10 Marquette players on the floor. Not so. There are just only 2 Baylor defenders on the floor because the rest of them have jumped into the stands, jumping at shot fakes.
Yeah, and that was such the distinct advantage for Baylor in this game was offensively. Like, Marquette's numbers offensively didn't jump off the page at all. They lost to Mississippi State last week and scored 55 points, by the way.
Mississippi State's really, really good, right? They're ranked like top 5, top 10?
They gotta be, because they just Marquette just hung 96 on Baylor. They hung just as many points almost in the first half, but it wasn't even second half, by the way, 45-45. Hang your hat on that one. But that was such the advantage. And I was like, maybe this is just one of those cases where they just haven't seen shooters like Baylor has. And that wasn't the case, man.
No, Baylor
wasn't the case. They were in the passing lanes all night.
Baylor shot the ball fine. From deep, Baylor ends up 9 for 24, 38%. That's not what
That's their average.
Yeah. Field goal, overall from the field, 48%. All right. You had a normal shooting game, a literal normal shooting game, and got beat by 26. The last stat that I want to give.
Only shot 4 more field goals, by the way.
Yeah.
Again, not just the turnovers. They only shot 4 more. It was big in the second half. It was a 17 field goal difference in the first half. But, yeah.
Last stat I want to get to before we go into what's next for Baylor, because the next game's easy. You get a cakewalk before you go back into the teeth of the tough competition. Who has the deeper bench, do you think? The fighting Baylor Bears or the Marquette Golden Eagles?
I don't know much about the Marquette Golden Eagles. I really don't. I know a lot about Baylor. And something you and I have both been saying, and a lot of media members all year long, the whole month of the season, has been, man, this team is deep. They get contributors 9 and 10 on the bench. As deep a team as we have seen with Scott Drew. Yep.
Absolutely.
So I would say Baylor.
You would say Baylor's deep. Well, Baylor's bench, 14 points. Marquette's 34. Dale Bonner, did he play in the game?
Not his best night. I mean, honestly, literally nobody I thought had a good night for Baylor.
Yeah. Did anybody play tonight? Did you and I get minutes on the floor? We both had
barely.
A turnover.
Jalen Bridges barely played.
We both had a turnover.
Keontae did not have his best
night. You know who
night?
I liked Caleb Lohner. Lohner.
I almost said the only one that was a little bit of a positive, just purely from the eye test, was Caleb Lohner. And it was mainly he's hustling. He's not getting bodied into the photographer's row for a rebound. So
he tried hard.
Playing pretty well.
Caleb Lohner tried hard. His 19 minutes and his 5 rebounds, which was second on the team today. His efficiency, which is points plus rebounds plus assists plus steals plus blocks, minus field goal attempts, minus field goals made, plus free throws attempted, free throws made, plus turnovers, which for some reason Marquette has as a stat. Caleb Lohner at a 6. Take that for whatever it means.
You scored a 6.
What? Oh, speaking of, you know what? It's a 6 out of 10. Things that aren't betonline.net. Betonline.net is where you can go online to bet. You can wager and stuff. Let me look right now. Let me go to my bet online. I'm going to do something transparent with you guys. Baylor lost. So, Papa didn't win too many Monopoly monies off of that guy. Baylor did lose, but I don't know if you knew this, the United States of America, USA, they won. So yours truly, ended up netting $82 at Bet Online because the United States of America beat Iran or Iran or however you say it. That one guy was mad, the other guy wasn't saying it right, and that was like a big news story this week. Also, we should talk about the World Cup more often. That's one positive thing going on right now. The United States has not lost yet in the World Cup play that they're doing in Qatar. Go to Bet Online right now, and you can bet on the World Cup. Bet on them to beat Norway on Saturday, which I think it's Norway or the Netherlands, one of the two. It's not going to happen, by the way. USA is going to get blown out. Maybe not, though. Go to Bet Online and bet on the U.S. at betonline.net. It's where the game starts. Hey, Kim.
Netherlands Saturday. I like us. I like us in that one.
I don't think so.
You going to be there, Dancing Bear? No free ads, but I like the people at Dancing Bear. So.
I want to be in Qatar.
Shut up, dude.
I'm going.
Straight from Crowley?
Here it's real safe this time of year. Here it's real safe in Qatar. I was thinking about going to the Big 12 championship game, and then I thought about it less. I decided not to.
Well, you are a big TCU guy.
Yeah, apparently.
As evidenced this weekend.
And BYU and Texas Tech and Oklahoma. I'm lobbying for jobs here. Just lobbying for jobs. Okay, what's next for Baylor men's basketball? They've got
a game on Friday.
Yeah, great news. Quick turnaround, and you go back on the road to play in two full days in South Dakota at the Pentagon. Is the Pentagon or the Octagon or the Hexagon?
Pentagon 5. Yeah, Pentagon.
I think it's the Pentagon. In Sioux Falls, is that right? Sioux Falls.
That's correct. Yeah.
Baylor and Gonzaga. Probably would have been a Baylor like -1, -2, maybe Gonzaga -1, -2. It will probably be the Zags -7, -8 now.
Drake,
usually, yeah. What do you got?
For those of you, this is for the people who are listening and not watching. Are you sitting down right now, Drake?
I'm sitting down.
I like Baylor on Friday.
Why?
I like Baylor on Friday.
Why? What are you going to be? What kind of like optimistic wizardry are you going to bring to this?
Everyone remembers me as the sports fan being the eternal optimist. That's that 30-point thing. That's not going to happen again. It's not.
Yay.
Barely has happened ever for Scott Drew. So therefore,
was this the worst loss since 2007? Is that what they said?
Points wise, yeah.
2007.
Yeah,
that's a long time. I wasn't born.
So that's not going to happen again. And I cannot believe we're comparing styles of Marquette versus Gonzaga because you should win both. But Gonzaga does not D up like Marquette does. Trust me. I've watched them on the television with my eyes. They don't. They don't get in the passing lanes like that. I mean, the simple breakdown of this game last night is Baylor could not put up a shot for like a good 15 minutes of the first half. They give up a 24-2, 24-2 run, and that was it. They never got back in the game, which, look, I mean, there's no excuse for not even getting back into the game, but I just don't think they get rattled like they did last night because Gonzaga doesn't play like that. They're not as fast. I'd mentioned the pace numbers about Marquette. This is the fastest team Shock has ever had, and that's mainly because they could create a lot of turnovers and go in transition a lot. Baylor doesn't play good transition defense, and that's not necessarily something that's going to happen against Gonzaga. Now, that said, Zags are elite 2-point shooting team and moving without the ball. They're fantastic at that. And maybe that exposes Baylor's defense some more. But they give up threes and they don't get in the passing lanes. They don't force as many turnovers. And I just think Baylor comes with a better game plan. Maybe a little trap game last night, looking ahead to Gonzaga.
This is a weird Gonzaga team. They lost.
They usually are, man.
They lost to Purdue 84-66. They feel much more 2017 Gonzaga. Less of this dominate. We're really good at basketball, and
they're not the well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Sometimes they're 2021 Gonzaga, and other times they're just 2018 normal Mark Few Gonzaga. They lost to Purdue by 18. Yes, you're right. A very good Purdue team. Purdue's in that conversation. Purdue, UConn, Texas, Houston, and Virginia are
Gonzaga's
like the teams. Yes. They did lose to Texas by a lot of points. They also beat Kentucky by 16. Do you get we beat Kentucky by 16, Gonzaga, or do you get we lost to whoever, Purdue?
Stylistically, I think because of the opponent being Baylor, that you're more likely to get the lost to Texas Gonzaga. I mean, Texas won that game by like 20 points, so I don't know that Baylor's going to do that, but stylistically, it's pretty similar. And Texas shot the lights out in that game. I don't think they're not going to be that good a three-point shooting team. I think they're a good team, a pretty darn good team, actually. But they're not going to shoot like that all season long. But still, with that said, I don't know what the opposite of impressed is with Gonzaga's defense.
Depressed.
Like, I was like, what the hell, man? Because Mark Few, obviously national recruiter, doesn't have really trouble getting big players to come to Gonzaga. And I said it every year, he watches teams that play dogged defense. They're not the fastest team, but they defend the hell out of you. They're in your shirt and they out-rebound you and they do the 50-50 balls. They make the winning plays, all those cliches. And he still doesn't build a team like that. Drew Timme has some awesome paint moves. That's fantastic. But honestly, he's not a very good rebounder. He is not a good interior defender, and he's slow. And a couple of teams have exposed that, Texas being one of them. And so that's just kind of the microcosm of what they have been. Again, they're obviously not trash. They've got a great program, and they're always in the mix. But they don't have that little good to great. They don't have those inches that are all around us, like Al Pacino would say. They don't have that, okay? And it just really manifested itself in that Texas game and in that Purdue game as well, that their defense just stinks. Like, I'm talking like as bad as Baylor's looked last night.
What?
Which should make for a fun matchup. At the Pentagon. Both teams are capable of playing really bad defense and are also capable of playing like bang average defense at best.
Yeah. Well, I don't at this point, what do I look forward to? What do we want? Baylor to win. When do we want it? In every sport, and it's not happening. I don't know. I just became a senior, and then Baylor decided to not win every game anymore.
Oh, you better watch what you're saying, dude, because I've already seen tweets tonight of, man, you didn't see what we were like against Phi Slamma Jamma 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So you can't complain about this. Or, man, I remember when we won one game. It's fantastic, man. I was here. I do remember that in football. But, like, this is different now. Like, we've been the best program in the country in basketball the last 3 years.
Yes.
And still have a very good team this year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Again, it's not one of the
great shot.
But in my mind, it becomes one of those teams. Like, I thought they were nailed on Final Four coming into today. And now I'm like, you know what? If this is the team, like if it doesn't improve, well, if it doesn't improve from tonight, they're going to be awful. But you know what I mean? Like if this is kind of how it stalls out, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a Sweet 16 team instead.
Sweet 16,
you know,
which is good. Which is
they'll have some big wins because the conference is so good. They'll also, I mean, they're not going to go in with 2 losses or anything. That would mean they would go undefeated in conference, which they're not going to do. I mean, you can still be a 1 or 2 seed in the Big 12 with losing 8 games total. Like that's possible. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe close.
I think with how good, I mean, they're all in the top 50 right now.
Yeah.
In Ken Pom. So
I think with
that level is pretty.
Is this the most embarrassing loss of the Scott Drew era?
No, probably not. I mean,
it's not. There's no way.
No. Well, you also have to differentiate Scott Drew, like being able to have a full allotment of scholarships in real college basketball players era. I don't go back to like 2004 or 5 with that. I mean, they've had some blowout losses to Kansas on the road, but that's Kansas on the road. So that's different, a little bit more acceptable. They lost to Texas Southern my senior year in the opener.
That's what I was going to mention. I was going to say that's probably more embarrassing.
I almost put out last night, like this is the most embarrassing loss against like a clearly inferior team. Because Scott Drew's teams will always play up and sometimes they'll play down to worse competition. Not usually, but sometimes they do. And then I remembered how poorly they played against Oklahoma State last year at home, but that ended up being like a 2-point loss. This was a 26-point loss to a team that, from what I saw tonight, that's probably a top 25 team, but we also know that this is way above what they've been this season.
Right.
And
if Baylor loses to Marquette 10 times out of 10, this is not a very good Baylor team. It's not any better than a Sweet 16. It's not what you thought Baylor was going to be.
But they have bought into this Shaka style. I think that's pretty funny. That looked like a VCU Shaka team right there.
Made me happy. I like Shaka.
And it just makes you think Texas fans are doing all right now in basketball, but like, man, that's what we should have been getting. Whose fault was that? Is it Shaka's fault? Is it, lottery picks not buying in fault? I don't know.
Conte.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's Cameron Stewart. I'm Drake Toll. Coming up next, Scott Drew. Scott, what do you think about whatever just happened right there?
For Coach? Hey, Coach. Shaka's team's probably pressing a lot more than they did when you faced them at Texas. Just what did that pressure defense cause mistakes on your end?
16 turnovers. So I thought first half really surprised. We didn't do a better job handling the pressure since we really pride ourselves, and our assist rate was one of the best coming in, and we have guards that have dealt with pressure and didn't see that coming. And credit the crowd, credit them for building momentum, credit to Shaka for having them prepared and how hard they played. At the end of the day, we fed to the fire by turning it over and making some uncharacteristic mistakes. Second half, I thought we were much better. 4 turnovers, much more like us. Defensively, we weren't very good either half. First half, you really couldn't tell our defense because they were in transition, a lot of it. Second half, we weren't very good. So credit them for running good offense, and we got to get better defensively.
On offense, Marquette seemed to spread you out and attack the paint. Just what kind of problems were they causing on the offensive end?
Well, normally what we cause, because we play four out a lot and some 5 out, and normally that's what we do to teams, and that's why we scored 45 second half. I mean, but to be a good team, you got to defend, and we weren't a good team tonight. So they made shots 12 for 25. That's hard to do, guarded or not guarded, but we gave up way too many open looks.
Coach, Cam Jones, David Joplin, and Omax Prosper scored 63 points from Marquette. Was just their performance something that stood out to you? Was that something that you were expecting? Because that's just stat line 63 out of Marquette's 96 points.
I was expecting them to play well because they're good players. We recruited some of them. We know some of them. I wasn't expected to get beat by 30, no.
LJ Pryor had really struggled in that first half, only at 2 points, but 14 points in that second half. How were you able to get him going and try and get yourselves back into the game?
Well, we shot first half 50% from the field. We just didn't get many attempts. So second half we didn't turn it over, so you went from 20 attempts to 36. And both halves we shot well, but obviously the turnovers first half killed us. The defense all game long killed us. And credit Shaka. I thought they played a really good game. The crowd was great. And start to finish, they really controlled everything.
Why were y'all not as good as usual on defense? What do you think were the issues?
No, I think first you have to give credit to Marquette. I think they made shots, made us pay. And I think it avalanched on us. And normally in the past, our defense would have been good enough to hold that, and normally we want to turn it over 16 times and a half. So you combine both of them. It's a good learning experience for us. We got to be a lot more efficient, a lot more focused, a lot more ready to go from jump. I thought the first media we played well, and after that it was downhill first half.
You're very familiar with rebuilding a program. What do you like about the way Shaka is going about the work here in Marquette?
I think Shaka's a proven coach. I mean, he's been successful at Texas, at VCU. He recruits good kids. They play really hard. He's a great coach. I knew he'd be really successful here.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry we couldn't give you a better game. You guys had to be bored second half.
Thank you, Scott. Great stuff as always. They're coming to get you.
Yep.
They're coming to get you.
Call an ambulance, but not for me. No, but seriously, call it for me. That was really bad.
That's Cameron Stewart Unbowl. Baylor lost.
I called the police for how bad a performance that was.
Again. This, come back tomorrow, I guess, is Locked on Baylor. Locked on Baylor.